Welcome to Whistleblowers in partnership with Wix Trade Pro. Hello and welcome to Whistleblowers. Gordon Smart here, as always, joined by Mark Clattenburg and Ian Ladyman. We will be answering some of your questions today and continuing with our bizarre all-time 11s from through the ages. Some strange names in there already. Right, before we get into that, I think we just need to point out what's going on in front of us here. Last week, Mark Clattenburg showed his delicate, soft refereeing hands at play. Very well moisturised hands, and he put together the first part of a table we're building with Wix Trade Pro. However, there's a health and safety issue here, Ian Ladyman. If you sit on that, there's a good chance it's going to fall apart. So I think what we need is a grown-up, dad strength, we call it.
Experience.
Northerner. And we need a northern man.
You can't get any further northern than me, can you?
Yes, I'm from North of the
Yeah, north.
Northwesterner. That's what we need.
That's better.
A pie eater.
Yeah.
We need a pie.
We need a pie eater.
A ale-drinking, pie-eating northerner. Ian Ladyman, we need you to do a little bit of handiwork here, right? We have a drill, we have some screws. Can you polish up Mark Clattenburg's handiwork here, please?
Anyone who's ever had the misfortune to share a house with me, whether it would be parents, brothers, sisters, I haven't got any brothers, parents, not that I know of, parents, sisters, housemates, girlfriends, fiancés, children were to be aware of what I was about to attempt here.
Give it a go,
they
Rachel.
would be sending the emergency services around. But here we go.
Right.
Taking my earpiece out.
Coming off. Ian Ladyman's removed.
I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah.
This is probably the most thing I've been looking forward to today.
Says a lot
Watching
about,
Ian doing a bit of graft.
says a lot about your life. I can't even get my microphone out, my earpiece out.
As Terry Butcher said, what are you?
So there he is.
There we
He's
go. That
unclipped
is actually
himself.
unclipped. Goodbye.
He is.
Okay, here we go.
He's like a
Here we go.
Ray Wilkins shuffling sideways across the studio.
He's the crab.
He's the crab.
He's the crab.
He's got onto
The
those.
lobster, the crab.
Yeah. This is like in front of Eric Ten Hag on his knees once again.
Yeah.
How long is that? Somebody once said to me. That's the longest screw I've ever seen. Right, okay, so we have what Mark did last week, but it needs screwing together.
Just needs a drill.
Pretty solid. You got a drill.
Right, go for it.
I'm going to aim.
Can you see Ian Ladyman's
It's
builder's
nice to see he's
bump?
got his safety glasses on as well.
Yeah. Here we go.
Wow, as if by magic. That's an incredible shot. Ian, it's like you've been, you've missed your calling in life.
Do you think I have a second career when the male sport redundancy eventually comes my way? Do you think I've got a future in making occasional tables?
No.
No. Do I?
It's a creditable effort, isn't it?
See, I think that's why he ordered, when we all went back and we all named an item that we were going to get from Wix, and I ordered a leaf blower and he ordered a new kitchen. And I think he's quite a handyman.
Do you think?
Yeah.
I think handyman to have around.
I'm more worried that your wife's birthday is going to be missed in time.
I tell you what, there's a lot of leaves coming from that tree blown off the North Sea, so we need to get that sorted as soon as possible.
The pursuit to build the perfect table from Wix Trade Pro will continue next week. Right, back to business. This is a question from Richard. He asks, what is the best TV show you've ever watched? Mr. Clattenburg, you first.
Superstars.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Any
I love that one.
particular episode?
Oh, the Kevin Keegan one.
The Keegan one, yeah.
Always iconic. And it was just, Saturday night TV was just, from the Chips, Grandstand, World of Sport, TJ Hooker, Dukes of Hazzard. It was just dynamite. And then it finished with Superstars. And then my mum and dad used to go down to the club, and then all in Cramlington, and used to bring us the Chinese in, and it was just epic Saturdays.
I think Ian was singing Blind Date there. I don't know.
No, that was definitely Superstars.
I'm bringing back my own memories and them memories. That's why I went into Gladiators. You see, I'm bringing back the memories.
Saturday night memories. Aren't
Kevin Keegan coming off his bike.
Yeah, that's why
That was
an iconic moment. Yeah.
Brian Jacks
Yeah.
doing the old, what were they?
Dips.
Dips. That's right.
Yeah.
Dips, yeah.
Incredible
Yeah.
dips. What about you then, Ian?
I'm going to go... Yeah. Well, I'm going to go Test match cricket. I know it's not a programme, but no, I'm trying to think of things that give me that sum up memories of my childhood.
Yeah.
And it would be sitting in front of the Test match on a Saturday afternoon with my dad, with my scoring book, actually
class.
scoring off each run and each ball. as it went. That to me is what I think about when I think about being at home as a kid.
Can you remember the Test match cricket? And you would watch it years ago. It's not like that now because it's like turned into modern cricket, isn't it? They just want to hit everything for six.
Yeah.
But can you remember? I was watching it. I think we're playing. Was it South Africa? And I watched it for 2 hours, and we hadn't scored one run. And I'm thinking, what's the point of this game?
That's
2 hours for no run. It was incredible.
That is it. The question is best TV show.
I know.
I don't know if it was. Is it best TV series? Because for me, I'd probably go with something fairly recent and say Game of Thrones.
Oh.
I absolutely loved that. I really got into it. I like The Wire as well as series. I'd never seen Sopranos, and I'm just
Sopranos.
getting into that now.
And in terms of spin-offs, and you mentioned The Wire, which is absolutely magnificent. I watched all of that back to back during one World Cup on my iPad, just on planes and trains. But not a spin-off. But Luther, by the way, Idris Elba went on to do. Luther was extraordinarily dark, unbelievable. That's that series.
Yeah.
So I get what you mean. I was thinking childhood as well.
Oh yeah,
so I'm
I
sitting
get
there
that.
thinking,
I get that. Because your book, he had his book. You say the little dots in the little ones.
Yeah.
Quick one then. Movies. Quick fire. Favorite movie.
Goodfellas.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say it. I'm going to say it anyway. Play It Again, Sam. Woody Allen.
I'm really sad. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the first one. Loved it.
Is that why you look like an Oompa Loompa?
That was on.
Is that because of the colour? Oh, all right. I've set myself up there.
That was on over Easter.
Love it.
Yeah.
I was watching it at my mother-in-law's house. My little girl, who's 6, watched it. That's aged quite badly.
Yes.
It's
But you know what?
aged really badly.
What I
Charlie and
don't
Chocolate
like
Factory.
is the first remade movies. It just doesn't work.
Don't do it.
Doesn't work.
Just don't do it. Right. Lucy asks, which footballer has had the biggest impact on the game? This can be measured however you like. For example, the records they hold, their individual fame, the iconic players or managers that they have inspired. Ian Ladyman.
Cruyff, probably. I think because he ticks all of those boxes in terms of he was an iconic figure for his nation. He was part of a generation of footballers playing football, total football, etc., as they called it, that we probably hadn't seen before. He achieved incredible things at club level as well, and then went obviously with Barcelona, went on to be a magnificent coach, and that way of playing, that Dutch way of playing, which subsequently has become embedded in so much of what we see, even when we look around Europe now at coaches like Pep Guardiola and others, and all of that bled into the whole kind of Louis van Gaal thing, and all the way through. I think he is one of those. You could talk about Pele, you could talk about Maradona. I'm sure people will. Might even be one of your choices. I don't know, but someone like Cruyff, I think, impacted football just about at every single level, all the way down from kids wanting to do a Cruyff turn to the way that we see football being played by some clubs and some countries even today.
Great answer. What about you then?
I was going to say Infantino, but he's just put us off. No, I'll say Cristiano Ronaldo.
Right.
I think what he's done in so many countries at such a high level, still playing at 40 years old, still producing it on the international stage. I haven't seen the management side of it yet, but he has danced up and down in 2016 Euro. So giving him a chance as a football player, he's the one that's inspired his iconic celebration, which people still do, children still do. His disciplinary record is still very, very good.
Give us a sue.
A sue.
Two.
But I think he's incredible.
1,000 goals?
Yeah.
Do you think he'll do it? Do you think he'll do the 1,000 goals? He'll score the 1,000 goals?
I think that's what he'll try and stay for.
Okay, for me, it's Maradona, because I quite like that metric, by the way, that if you have a move in football, I remember going to a great football camp when I was a kid, and you got taught the Cruyff turn and the Maradona. And actually, it was the David Rocastle step over at that particular thing. But Maradona, to have a mural of your image all over a city because of the influence you had in Italian football, that's massive. That's the sign, isn't it?
I think you also have to remember the environment in which he played, and also Cruyff, but let's stick with Maradona because it's a great example. You watch the old footage, And what are the great Maradona moments? Obviously, the second goal against England, the warm up for Napoli. He was doing all the tricks with his laces undone. But also, what's some of the goals that he scored in Serie A? And he's essentially been chased by people who just want to kick him and were allowed to kick and hurt him and still couldn't catch him. And that is an advantage that players like Ronaldo and Messi have over him. The game these days is set up, you could argue rightly, for the skillful players. It wasn't back then.
Yeah.
It was it wasn't back then. And
tackles.
he still survived and thrived.
If you ever see the tackle that broke his leg when he played for Barcelona, it's more than agricultural. It's horrendous.
Yeah.
But to bounce off that, ride the tackle and maintain composure, remarkable. So for me, Maradona. Great question. Thank you, Lucy. Right, Sam asks, what's your favourite guilty pleasure? Mark Clattenburg.
That's a good question, isn't it?
Hands how guilty you want to go.
Exactly. I've had plenty of pleasures without being guilty. Probably a nice, cool Guinness.
Yes, that's not so guilty though, is it? I think that's a
I'm trying to think of a really, I suppose.
I'll give him time to think. I'll go. You have a think. I'll go. Yeah. Gardening. I'm a bit of a gardener on the court. A bit of a gardener and a bit of a bird watcher. On the court.
Bird watcher.
You know how much he wants his contraband from Wicks.
I tell you what I used to do when I was a child, but I wouldn't do it now. I used to plane spots. And I used to collect the registration plates of the aeroplanes and put them in a book.
Where?
Newcastle Airport.
Well, there's only been 3 airplanes a day back in the 80s.
There used to be a 747 came in from Birmingham on the way to Canada. We used to stand at the end of the runway, and it used to have to land so low because of the runway was so short, and we used to just run away. Yeah. But I always used to remember.
You should feel guilty about that.
I might start doing that on the trains.
That is square.
I've got a bit more time.
Said the garden.
I've got a bit more time, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Says the daffodil obsessive on the yellow sofa.
I think for me, I've got, I don't know if it's a guilty pleasure or not, but ice cream.
Oh.
I can't walk past one of those fridges with a Twister in it or a Magnum without buying one.
What's your favourite?
At the moment, I'm going through an almond Magnum stage.
Oh, nice.
Magnum's mad. Then we shouldn't be tinkering with a Magnum.
That is the best Magnum, I think.
Put an almond in it.
What do you do? Do you eat the chocolate off first?
No, I start at the top and nibble my way down, enjoying a combination of chocolate and ice cream.
Yeah.
And then make sure that the wooden stick. Do you know the bit of history behind the Magnum? Do you know this?
No.
It's a showbiz story. Apparently, I've always get this wrong. It's either Roger Moore or Michael Caine. I think it's Michael Caine. He invented the Magnum.
Hang on.
Do you know this?
Who?
Do you know this?
Roger Moore invented the Magnum?
Stick with me. No, I think it was Michael Caine, actually. We'll check this. But he was sitting on set, and do you remember chalk ices?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I used to love them.
Loved the chalk ice?
Yeah.
What was the annoying thing about a chalk
Didn't
ice?
have a stick.
Melt.
It was a mess, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You'd fiddle about with it. You'd get a little bit of chocolate on your hands.
And it was thin chocolate as well.
I think it might have been Zulu, or if it was Roger Moore, he was filming a Bond film. He said, this would be so much better if we just put a wooden stick in it, because then my hands wouldn't get dirty between shots. It was Roger Moore. It was Roger Moore.
Yeah.
And so apparently Roger Moore created he was the one who said, put a stick in that'll make it a much better treat.
But I'm not a great story.
Better chocolate, better ice cream and
That's
everything.
The showbiz.
But everybody knows that your way to eat chalk ice is to keep it in your fingers on the wrapper.
Up with a bit in the bottom, though, didn't you?
And then you turn it inside out at the end. And then
and
then it goes all over your face and hands. Yeah, there you go.
But one of my childhood
I'll
memories.
never get that out of my head watching Ladyman.
Sitting amongst his roses, licking the inside of his.
I don't need to think about Margaret Thatcher playing golf anymore. I just think of you.
But my childhood memory of ice cream was always that Neapolitan, the chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry ice cream.
Phenomenal.
Dynamite.
Right, final question today. It comes from Tom. What's the best goal you've ever seen live, Mark Clattenburg?
It would have been. Who was the Portsmouth player that shot from the halfway line? I was reffing.
Mendes.
No, it was it Gary?
Oh, Matt Taylor.
Matt Taylor. And I was lucky enough. I was on the halfway line with him when he struck it, and I thought, wow. But that was one of the goals, and I remember also, and it was Cecchini, and he scored that goal in the Euro, and it won the goal of the Euro in 2016 when he hit it against Poland in the last 16. And it was interesting. He scored another goal playing for Stoke. And he came to us after he scored because I said, what a great strike. And he goes, you know what, Mark? He says, every time I score great goals, you're the referee.
Amazing. What a great thing to... great claim to fame. Ian Ladyman.
I'm glad that was a long answer, Mark, because it gave me chance.
That's what I'm trying to do, because I know your memory, because you're getting old.
Phone. All I remembered, I was sitting there thinking, that amazing goal, World Cup 2006. I remember it was Argentina. I remember it was at that awful bloody stadium at Gelsenkirchen. And I remember there was about 15 passes before this guy scored. I've just looked up on my phone. Argentina 6, Serbia and Montenegro 0. And I'm pretty sure that goal was scored by Cambiasso.
I remember that.
It was an incredible goal.
Passing masterclass.
Absolutely, yeah. And it was, I think England had played the day before and had played poorly. So they were getting hammered at home for the way they played. And that was very much, I was at that game, I wasn't at the England game, I was at this game, very much in my mind as I watched this Argentina team put on a masterclass, thinking, blimey, this is a world apart from the way England play football. And then they scored that goal. So it's probably not one that will, that will stick in many people's memories. Yeah. You had to be there, as they say, but I was there and it was absolutely stunning to watch.
It's funny, there's one that springs to mind for me, and it's going to be a classic Scottish obscure one, but I was at Henrik Larsson's debut. And what a career he went on to have, right? But he came on as a sub against Hibs at Easter Road. And the first thing he did was give the ball away to Chick Charnley, who took the ball in the half turn, opened his body up and scored, putting it into the top corner from about 30 yards. And I remember everybody thinking, that Henrik Larsson, he's shit. Who have Celtic signed?
What a mistake.
But you just think from that moment, but it was a brilliant, brilliant goal. And again, seeing goals from the halfway line. I saw Pat McGinley score a goal from the halfway line for Hibs. Seeing a goal like that's quite special.
But it's amazing, isn't it? Because
that vision to do that in front of the crowd.
I was there the day that Rooney did the bicycle kick against against Man City. I've seen Mo Salah score goals, especially in that golden spell he had a few years ago when he'd get the ball with 6 players to beat and he'd beat them and score. You see all kinds of goals, and it's hard to pick one out. So I think you just pick out one that made you feel something. And I remember that day for me, it just made me feel like, wow, that's a different type of football than I'm used to watching.
I think you see more and more now, don't you? You see some special goals.
You do.
Now. Season on season, you think. One year you think, oh, that's probably the best goal I've ever seen. Then the next season, wow, that's an But sometimes these team goals get underrated, don't they? Like
the finish isn't always spectacular.
Yeah, because it's not. It's a simple finish, but they've made it simple.
Yeah. I mean, Man City people. It drives me mad that people seek to denigrate Guardiola now. All of a sudden, in the last 6 or 7 months, especially what's happened to Jack Grealish, there's this narrative has emerged of Pep Guardiola is ruining footballers because the way he wants his teams to play is so rigid and organised. Yeah. People forget the type of football that Pep Guardiola's teams have played if you go back to the Barcelona days. I mean, some of the goals that Man City have scored in the last 5 years have been absolutely spellbinding. Some incredible. Of the passes that people like David Silva, Kevin De Bruyne have made, unbelievable.
It's interesting that the question is the best goal you've ever seen live, but the significance of a very special goal for me, and I know I'm going to mention it 1,000 times in the podcast, was when Hibs won the Scottish Cup for the first time in 114 years. And when you hear the commentary back, I was at the game, but when you hear the commentary back, and Liam Henderson, who's now playing in Serie A, he took Henderson to deliver, and Sir David Gray headed the ball in, and that feeling with my 6-year-old son, my big brother, and the emotion, and then Sunshine on Leaf to be sung after that as a special goal, that can't ever be topped for me.
Yeah. But those are different, I suppose, different kind of memories, aren't they?
Goal, is it?
No, but it's got their memories, hasn't it?
So
think about the Steven Gerrard goal against West Ham in the cup final, whatever that at Cardiff. 30 seconds to go.
I was at that game.
I was actually at that game.
Well, look at Aguero's goal.
But the Gerrard one, I saw it again recently. It just came up on a feed or something. Yeah. You watch that goal. I reckon there's probably a 1% chance of him pulling that off.
And how tired he was.
And at that time,
that day was,
in that moment, and he pulls it off. He just does it.
See, but they're the moments that not everybody will say it's a world. It's a great because it's not spectacular, but the style of his strike, the angle. The accuracy and everything.
You know, I was in the West Ham end at that when that goal was scored, and I remember the fans going, "That was pretty special."
They'd led 2-0.
You don't often hear that from away fans, do you?
No.
Own goal from
Clap. Who, in that
Your
game?
mate, Jamie Carragher scored
Did
the
he?
first West Ham goal in that game. Own goal.
Did he?
Yeah.
What a great weekend that was.
See, going back to goals that you remember, Big Dan Burns goal against Liverpool. I've got. See, I had that same feeling because we hadn't scored at Wembley.
Yeah.
And certainly go in front in a final.
Great shout.
Great
You know what I
shout.
mean? So we've got them
Great
feelings.
shout.
Forget about the quality,
Great shout.
the
That
feelings.
is such a special base.
Yeah, absolutely great shout.
I'd go with that argument all day long. To get involved in the show, email us whistleblowers@dailymail.com. Head to our social accounts as well. X is Blowers Pod. On TikTok, Whistleblowers Podcast. Instagram, it's at Whistleblowers Pod. Right, time now to continue with our all-time 11. It was right backs last week, which had some rather bizarre teams. To recap, Mark has Peter Schmeichel and Kyle Walker. Ian has Gianluigi Buffon and Phil Neal. And I've got Neville Southall and Cafu. Great response from listeners on this. James says, Cafu isn't even the best Brazilian left back of all time. He never was. He was right back, wasn't he?
Yep.
Let alone the best in the world. Can't believe no one went for Dani Alves. Fair shout, fair shout. Kyle says, Phil Neal, hell of a shout. Brilliant. And Sarah says, can't believe nobody went with two-time Champions League and World Cup winner Neuer. Manuel Neuer.
That's what's great about football, isn't it?
Because he's a complete
Yeah,
cock.
but everybody's got great opinions, haven't they? That's what I love about football. Opinions.
Yeah. You can argue the case for all
Of course.
of them. Right, centre-back pairings. Now, Ian, would you like to take it away? Who would you have as the greatest centre-back pairing?
Well, I don't think I've picked him as a pair. I've just picked two break centre halves and let them leave it to them to get on with it. Basically, okay. Now, without risk of this, running the risk of this turning into a Liverpool team,
Oh,
and
no.
I did think about this, but I thought, no, this is my answer, so I'm going to go with my answer. You can't get past Alan Hansen. I mean, literally, you couldn't get past Alan Hansen.
So pleased.
You can't get past him in terms of this. What a footballer. Wonderful reader of the game, brave, athletic, probably could have played in about 7 positions if you'd have asked him, able to carry the ball out defence, a good passer of the ball, a leader. 7 First Division titles I think I'm looking at here on my phone for Liverpool, 2 FA Cups, 4 League Cups, 3 European Cups, and of course a criminally small amount of caps
yeah.
for Scotland. Blame Alex Ferguson for part of that. I know Mark Lawrenson a little bit, and Mark Lawrenson was a super footballer as well. And he said to me not that long ago, when Hansen was quite poorly, actually, and we were talking about him, and Lawrenson said to me, he said, I used to go out there and play a game as Alan's centre-half partner and come off the pitch. I'd have one sock up, one sock down, my shirt would be ripped, I'd have mud everywhere. And he said, and Alan would just walk off looking like he'd just played a game of badminton.
Amazing.
Just absolutely pristine. Because he said he never had to go to ground or fall over because he was too good. So Alan Hansen is my stylish distributor of the ball, and next to him, Nemanja Vidic. Because I think if you're going to have a Hansen type, then you need someone next to him who's going to head
He's a
it,
monster, wasn't he, Vidic?
and tackle and scare the life out of people. And he could play a bit as well, Vidic. So Hansen and Vidic, a Manchester United-Liverpool combination at centre-half for me.
Is the Alan Hansen pub quiz story true that he represented his country at 5 different sports? Do you know that?
I only know that he played. I know he played golf for Scotland.
He was golf, table tennis, football, and something else.
Table tennis is sport.
Aye.
Do we count that? I need to know how. Come back to me because we need to know how. 26 caps for Scotland.
Which, yeah.
26.
And he had one particular
That's
game where he was
incredible.
paired with Willie Miller and he had an absolute disaster.
Yeah, they fell over each other, didn't they?
Can I tell you a great Alan Hansen story very quickly?
Go on, Ian.
So when I worked in newspapers, a mate of mine was making a documentary about Liverpool and they went to Alan Hansen's house to interview him and they were getting set up to do it. And the director said, look, I don't think this room's right. Is there anywhere better in the house that would make this feel a little bit more like you're a statesman or like the leader of Liverpool? And he went, well, we'll go into the living room. Come on, I'll take you into the posh dining room or whatever it was. So they got him standing with his elbow on the mantelpiece and they said, would you mind putting the fire on, Alan, just to give it a little sense of warmth? So he kind of rolled his eyes, of course I'll do that. And he put the fire on. 3 weeks later, the production company got a bill for kilowatt hours of energy burned in his house, right?
Not true.
So I
That's not true.
It's absolutely true.
I will not have that.
So I published the story in the paper, Alan Hansen sends bill for 12 quid's worth of whatever it was. And it was brilliant. Gary Lineker opened match of the day that Saturday night by going, "Oh, Alan, put the fire on. It's a bit cold in here."
Classic.
Well, there you go. Alan Hansen. And I love Alan
You're
Hansen.
a bad man.
I'm a bad man.
You're a bad man.
He played football with the sole of his foot, and an inspirational bloke for me growing up as a player. Just the way he glide around the pitch, wouldn't he? Brilliant to watch.
Beautiful.
Brilliant
Beautiful.
player.
Yeah.
Right then, Mark Clattenburg, who are you going for?
See, I would have put him in, but because Ian said it, I'll change it. I've asked AI who was the best centre half.
You're going to take mine now, aren't you?
No, I haven't. Did you go use AI? Is that what you did?
No, I know who
cheated?
I'm going for, but I think
No,
AI
I'm going to
is
go, and I'll tell you what I'm going to go for, and a bit controversial, 'cause I'm going to do it in my time, what I've seen live.
Okay.
And one of the best centre-halves, even though he was quite nasty, but I watched him in the last tournament, and he was incredible at his age, is Pepe.
Oh,
yeah.
And you might...
cheat.
No, I get all that, and I get all of that, but every player dives. Oh, come on, there's been a lot of... But what I liked about him is he was an incredible pro, achieved an awful lot. He was an incredible centre-half. And when I watched him in the last tournament, playing for Portugal, it was like the ball was glued to him. Every ball that went in, he was on the end of it at the age of, over 40. He was incredible. And even though I had some run-ins with him, and in the Champions League final in particular, he was just an incredible footballer, incredible centre-half as a defender. But my second centre-half would be Vinny Kompany. And he laugh. I've always been a Vincent Kompany fan. So I'm going with a shot stopper, and now I want a ball player. Yeah. And now I'm going to balance it up, and I'm going to put Vincent Kompany. And I always like Vincent as a player. I liked him as a person. Yeah. He had a great attitude, different to Pepe, but also I remember one of the iconic moments in my head is when he hit that shot to win the title. Yeah, to win that title. For a centre half to hit it like that and to hit the top corner when I think everybody was expecting it in row Z and everybody shout, "Don't shoot, don't shoot," and it hits the top corner.
Have you seen the footage from behind the shot? So from the other end of the pitch. Of the guy, because it was like a couple of minutes ago, the guy who's decided to leave, beat the traffic, and he just gets to the top of the steps when he hears the roar.
Oh, incredible! Yeah. But no, it's controversial.
That's what AI offered you, is it?
The AI, that's Clattenburg's AI. No, it was just them players. I could argue Rio Ferdinand was very Rolls Royce centre half, as a ball player and as a defender. There's many centre halves. It's just some things that I've watched over the last few years made, Ramos was a great centre-half, for example. But I thought Pepe now is even still, I don't think he's going to go on to the next tournament. Could, but he was an incredible professional player.
I think Geordie AI, what's it called? YI? Big Al. So for me, it's a really tough call between Laurent Blanc and Marcel Desailly. They were pretty special. But I think it has to be a genuine partnership for me. So it has to be Franco Baresi and Paolo Maldini. Wow. A young Maldini and the wise old head of Baresi. Yeah. They were formidable, weren't they? Italian defending. Just a pair of class acts. There's a great YouTube video of Maldini doing a masterclass in defending. And I often find myself watching it late at night thinking, that's how I would like to have been a professional footballer. And again, he just looked like a class act, didn't he? The way he positioned his body, the way he would win in the air. He was never intimidated by a jinky little player.
Reasonably good looking.
And a handsome man. Yes. So
is that why you went for the hands?
Yes.
That he looked very similar to yourself.
I modelled myself on Pirlo and Maldini in every aspect.
What, the shoes?
Exactly.
Shoes?
No, they're Willie Miller's boots from 1984.
I must admit, I did think it was going to be Richard Gough and Willie Miller, I must admit. I did. I'd
have to be Alec McLeish.
Yeah.
I'd have to be Alec McLeish. But no, that's my choice. So there we go. I think we're putting together a decent 11.
We could put Terry Butcher in as well, couldn't we?
No.
I
think Ian Ladyman is just going to put forward that Liverpool team. We could just make this easy for us, couldn't we? I wonder who he supports, Ian Ladyman. Nobody really knows.
Yeah, but he's starting to show again
he is, isn't he?
which team he's actually supporting.
Well, hang on a minute. before we started recording this, you accused me of supporting Man United.
No, it was Stockport.
So
Tell the truth, it was Stockport.
No, Gordon said Stockport because that's near to where I live. You then said Manchester United.
Then it could be
ludicrous.
Then it could be Salford.
Utterly ludicrous.
Macclesfield. He won't tell us. Right, we will be back on Thursday for the next instalment of Whistleblowers. Until then, please follow us on socials. And that leaves us with one thing to do. As always, Mark, would you mind blowing the full-time whistle? If you want to watch more episodes of Whistleblowers, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll keep you up to date all the way through the summer with everything that's happening in the world of football.